Hello, adventurer. It's good to see you. You have made it to the morning grind.
Welcome, welcome.
It's the live stream at the beginning of the Geekverse, where we talk about all types of topics in geekdom, gaming, and fantasy, with an emphasis on being constructive and creating the things that we want to exist in the world.
It's all on the grind, Sizemore. Can't be too fine, can't be too coarse.
That's exactly right. There are a lot of adventures to be had today. Dungeons to explore and monsters to slay, and who knows what a random encounter might send our way. That's why we have to prepare. So settle in now for the morning grind with your favorite beverage in hand.
Tea? Or maybe something a little stronger. I've got a few bottles of the old Wynyard left.
Whatever you want. Pull up a chair.
Dude.
If you're feeling fancy, how about a cappuccino? Or a frappuccino? Or how about an espresso?
Just tea, thank you.
Sounds good to me, Gandalf. Whatever you want. I'm just glad you're here.
Everyone is welcome. You can just watch if you want. You don't have to worship anything you don't want to worship.
Thank you, Mike. But be forewarned.
Sometimes we get really strange characters around here.
Wait, what's that you say? Why can't you come and be a part of the stream?
My wife would disown me.
Oh no, I bet she'll be fine with it. Come on in.
Am I scared for my safety? No.
What are we supposed to do?
Everybody do the secret handshake.
Secret cultist handshake.
Oh, now do wizards who love each other.
This, my friend, is a science.
I still don't have gills, but it's fine.
It's all on the grind, son. Can't be too fine, can't be too coarse.
Dude, this would be a sick place to bring the band.
Indeed it would be, Dave. It really would. I'm seeing more people coming in. Welcome. Glad to have you here. Oh, look, here's someone new.
Is this the cultist meetup?
Yes it is.
Come to hang out? Please accept me. I have nothing else.
Okay, we accept you. Everyone's welcome here.
Brought some snacks.
Well, that makes things even better.
You want some coffee? I don't drink coffee. You sure? It's cultist coffee. What makes it cultist coffee? I'm a cultist and I'm drinking it. Oh. Then I'll have some.
What exactly is going on here?
I'm seeing more people coming in. Welcome. It's so great to have you. Oh, and look, here comes another stranger.
Can we help you?
Yes, fellow cultists. I could really use some food.
Oh yeah? Welcome. We have donuts.
Oh, it's me. I'm glad I'm here. I'm sure you have a few questions for me, though.
What's your name? Who do you work for? What god do you worship?
Great questions, Rob.
I'm Steve King, and I worship Nyarlathotep.
No, not really. I'm just Heath, and I won't be worshiping anything this morning. But I will be your host. Welcome to the office. We're going to have a great time. I've got my coffee ready, because now it's time for the morning grind.
If you could become a fish, that would be amazing. Then I could command you with my mental fish powers.
Good morning, everyone. Good morning. Happy Halloween. Happy Halloween. I'm glad that you are all here with me. And probably a lot of you have a lot of fun stuff to do tonight for Halloween and are just trying to get through the day here. And if you don't, hey, that's why we're here. We're here for some fun this morning. We'll be taking a look at Steal This Story, which we meant to take a look at yesterday. But fantastically, we actually got the author on the morning grind yesterday. So if you have been following the series on the Right Club that turns out we've been doing for the last few days, and you didn't see yesterday's stream, the author, Adron Smitley, came on yesterday to talk to us. And so he and I talked for about an hour. We're going to have him on Table Talk later. He didn't have a webcam. He didn't have anything. So he got a webcam specifically to come on and talk to us yesterday. And so he's going to work out some things even further and come on Table Talk with us. We're going to organize that. So, yes. Good morning, PH. Good morning. Good morning, James. Good to see you. Hello, Lynn. Okay, so wait a minute. What's going on here? Am I going to say this right? Happy. How do I say that? Say she. Poiré is a mischievous and iconic figure in Brazilian folklore. Picture him as a young boy with a red cap and a single leg, often smoking a pipe, which is your profile picture. Interesting, interesting. Good morning, BGD. Good morning, good morning. Hides things, weaves horse manes into braids, and playfully interfaces with the cooks and makes food burn. So that's what today is. Most people imported Halloween anyway. I'm only one of the few crazy dudes who celebrate the Sashi Day or Saki Day. Good morning. Very interesting. Hello, Tomocrat. Yes, welcome. Come to visit the Discord server. Come right in. Thank you for posting that link. The more I see that coffee interaction, the funnier it gets. The way he indicates toward the coffee with his grill fork trident is hilarious. Good morning, Sable. Good morning. All right. I know. This is Halloween, right? Yes, this is Halloween. I basically didn't notice October. It's ridiculous. I basically didn't even notice October. All right. So, but if you still do not have anything going on, if you don't have anything going on tonight, let me show you this. So tonight for our tonight we've got the Cultist Watch Party. I'm probably gonna do season 1 with everybody. So the Cultists, if you don't know, that's the show that I created, produced, and co-wrote with Brianna. Brianna is the one who directed it. It's a mockumentary style show about modern day Lovecraftian cultists who just want to worship Cthulhu in a world full of people who don't understand. It has its own channel right here. And I'm going to simultaneously broadcast tonight's stream on the new Cultist channel, as well as Table Talk, as well as here. So there will be super chat capability. So this one's going out in 3 different places. So tonight, 7:00 p.m. Central Time. Let me post the direct link to this. So here is the now this is the link on the Cultist channel. So if you have not seen the Cultist channel yet, the first 3 episodes of the Cultists are up there on that channel. Brianna and I are working to re-release all of the Cultists on that channel. We got about 69 or 68 videos. Now, there are only 20 episodes, but there are other videos as well that go on. So the Cultists live watch party tonight. And of course, I own the show, so the show can actually be up on the screen when we're doing the live watch party tonight. So it's not just something that, where you have to watch on a separate streaming service or something while we watch. We'll be watching live. So that's the link to the Cultists. That's the link to where it will broadcast on the Cultist YouTube channel. So if you click that link and hit the watch or the, let's say subscribe or notify me down here. Looks like I'm not actually subscribed to the Cultist channel. I should be. There we go. So then you can click notify me probably. I think I'm in the wrong window. But click the notify me button and then also subscribe to the Cultist YouTube channel right there, and you'll get that. But it'll also be going on Table Talk. So I look forward to having a good time tonight. That's 7:00 p.m. Central Time. We'll hang out. We'll do commentary on it, like season 1 probably. It took us a long time to do season 1 and season 2 with commentary. Each season is only an hour long. But I remember one time I did a watch party and did both of them back to back with commentary and discussion. It took a long time, so we will just see. Hello, Ghostly Karma. Welcome. Sounds like Halloween is your day. Let's see. Yeah, that yesterday was a good one. Yeah, I didn't realize. Yeah, I was planning on looking at this book, which is going to be on log lines that he wrote, but he was on the show. He was here in the waiting room ready. So I was like, all right, let's talk to him. Let's see. All right. Yes, Indiegogo as well. So let's go over here. There's a lot going on. If you want a copy, let's see, Goodnight Sword, Indiegogo. If you do not have a copy of Goodnight Sword on Indiegogo and you would like to have one, well, Goodnight Sword and you would like to have one, that is wrapping up in 24 hours. I'm going to order the books as soon as the Indiegogo gets live. Is Stray sick? I'm sorry. I see. Let's see. Oh no, Sable Phoenix is sick. Sable Phoenix. Oh, my DM and family are going to run 10 candles for us sick, and so am I. So I'll be home. Should be able to watch the party. Oh, that sucks. Yeah, that sucks. I'm sorry. 10 candles would be fantastic to run tonight. I tried that, but maybe next weekend when the family gets together or something, we'll do a Halloween theme. Lots of people got Halloween things going on tonight. So I really want to do that. Yep, you too. So anyway, Goodnight Sword is, of course, my take on Goodnight Moon. I got the physical copy right here. If you want a physical copy, Stray just posted the link in the chat right here over at Indiegogo. In 48 hours, this will close out, and then I will order the books. So if you need one, they will be arriving for Christmas. So if you need a Christmas gift for a child in your life who's about the right age for Goodnight Moon, this is Goodnight Sword. It's my medieval fantasy take that's set in the world of Rabavania, and I'm looking forward to doing a lot more in Halloween. A lot more in Halloween. A lot more in Rabavania over the coming months, because I'm looking forward to next year getting the first of the Rabavania RPG out. So that right there is going on. Please do check that out. Hey, happy Halloween, Robert. Happy Halloween. Welcome. Okay, let's see. So that's going on. There's a lot of other things going on too. So Table Talk, yes, the Table Talk channel. I'm going to be talking. We got tonight's live kind of watch party. Thursday, Brian Colin. It just so happens that his previous conversation with me re-aired on this channel, on the Table Talk channel, a little while ago. Stray posted like a few days ago. Stray posted the link to Table Talk as well, right here. So please check that out. But actually, this Thursday, we're also going to have another live version of Table Talk. Brian is on Kickstarter right now with his RPG called The Molt. And so Brian and I are going to talk live this Thursday. So we got a live Table Talk this Thursday with a guest. So Brian will be back on. He is an amazing creative person. He's a sculptor. He is an artist. 2D, but also physical 3D sculpting, creates these monster busts that he used to create his whole world with. He's the creator of the Vast Grim RPG. He's also done a lot of RPG creation. He created Vast Grim, which you might know him the most for, but The Molt is something that he's on Kickstarter right now for. I haven't made up the link for that yet, but I will. That'll be Thursday. And then also, Kickstarter approved my next project. So here it is. If you would like, the Trial of St. Gabriel is going to be the next Kickstarter I do. I'm going to do this very soon, maybe in a week or a week and a half. I haven't started promotion yet because I just got my link here. And hey, we need people. I just got this link yesterday. And so if you are interested, we did a quick preview of this a few weeks ago. I got some more things I got to set up as far as advertising material goes. Then I'm going to start promoting it, and then we'll probably run this in about 10 days or 14 days, something in there, because I want to run this. That way I can get out this Christmas story to everybody before Christmas, and everything is a crunch, of course. The Trial of St. Gabriel, a dark short story of the Bethlehem Christmas Massacre. So this is the Christmas story like you haven't seen it before. If you would like to come on into that Kickstarter and click the notify me on launch, well, then you'll know when the Kickstarter is live. So right there, the Trial of St. Gabriel. Brian is. Absolutely, he is. Brian is fantastic. So that's going on. Now, I was watching this morning even more stuff about how I can improve the AI filmmaking side of things. So I've got even more to say on that. But here is, for my first pass, this is how the Kickstarter video ended up. Experience the Christmas story like it has never been told before, from the perspective of the angels at war. The third heaven is in tumult as Michael and his host war against Prince Lucifer and his rebels. In the midst of the violence, God Almighty has chosen to be born into the world as an innocent and defenseless babe. The Archangel Gabriel has been dispatched to make arrangements for the birth, but with him goes Sataniel, the angel who tortured Job and slew his children many years before. No one knows what torment he has come to wreak upon Judea, but Gabriel is keeping his sword close at hand. The Trial of St. Gabriel, The Dark Story of the Christmas Massacre, written by E.H. Robinson. Get it today. So I'm pretty proud of that. And I think I can push it even further now. But the purpose was to learn AI filmmaking techniques and create the Kickstarter video. I guess otherwise it would have just been me sitting here saying, "Hi, I'm the author of The Trial of St. Gabriel. Welcome." And talking about the story. But I was actually able to produce that, which is solving some of the problems that I have, because I want to do more YouTube videos that are animated audiobook styles for the kinds of things that I've been writing. And I've been trying to do that for years and haven't been able to, but it looks like AI and AI filmmaking are going to be the way to go. And I think I can push that even further, because I was having to develop the whole technique and the workflow and learn all of the stuff, and was able to get that done. Now I got some more experimenting to do, and then maybe do something with it. Oh, thank you, PH. Epic it is. I'm very proud of it. So we'll see what else we can do. So that's for the Trial of St. Gabriel. Is there anything else that I need to talk about right now? So tonight we got the Cultist Watch Party. There's a lot going on. Tonight we got the Cultist Watch Party. Tomorrow, well, of course, the Morning Grind will be here. Thursday we'll be live with Brian. And on the Table Talk channel, we've got clips going out every day at 1 o'clock. So on the Table Talk channel, even if you can't sit down and watch an entire live stream podcast, Brianna and I have been clipping stuff out every Wednesday, so that every day for every week, so we're planning the whole week at 1 o'clock. You've got the different clips that come out. So you've got clips on different subjects. So if you're just interested in grabbing a particular subject that interests you, you don't have to go through and watch the whole long live streams. So clips coming out there every day at 1 o'clock. It would be great if you're over there watching, liking videos, things like that, trying to grow all of this stuff. One of these days, we're going to I'm going to go back and I'm going to do a plan for world domination video. What I'm trying to do, because I feel like we're manifesting again over here. All right, let's do our reading for the day. Let me stop screen sharing. All right, and then bring this back up. So our reading today, before we actually get into the book we're going to be taking a look at, is from the War of Art. Oh yeah, because NaNoWriMo starts tomorrow. I got so much to do today. NaNoWriMo starts tomorrow. We'll be talking about NaNoWriMo here. If you're in the Ravenkeep Discord, there's a specific channel for NaNoWriMo, so we can help keep each other on task. I'm not ready, but I never am. I've got a lot more plotting I got to do. Brianna and I are having a meeting this afternoon. I got more plotting I have got to do. We got the show tonight. There's so much stuff going on. I might end up having to start with turning the Trial of St. Gabriel into a screenplay for NaNoWriMo while I finish outlining Rabavania, although I've had some amazing revelations in it because of Adron's Right Club book series, and that's incredible. So tomorrow, NaNoWriMo starts. You're welcome to do that with us. We'll be keeping track of that on the NaNoWriMo site. I am Heath R on the NaNoWriMo site if you want to connect. There's also on the NaNoWriMo site a Ravenkeep NaNoWriMo group that James, Bacon, and Michelle are working or administering. Put your username in the NaNoWriMo chapter, NaNoWriMo channel, and they will add you to it. All right. Let's breathe and sip. Yes. Can you borrow one of the books behind me? I got a lot of them. Which one do you need? Okay. Let's breathe and sip. And then do our Adron's books have been really good for crystallizing concepts behind solid stories. It's some of the best stuff that I have, most concise stuff on storytelling, especially Stomping Kittens. And he said that Stomping Kittens was the one that you should read if you're only going to read one. The Punching Babies is the basics. But if you're beyond the basics, then you get into Stomping Kittens, and it basically reports, hey, Zero the Blade, welcome. All right, so let's do breathe and sip. Got your coffee, got your drink, whatever it is. Then we will read from, this is The War of Art by Stephen Pressfield. Here we go. 2 deep breaths, complete exhales, and then take a sip from your favorite beverage. Here we go. And sip. Ah, good. All right. From the War of Art, approaching the mystery. Why have I stressed professionalism so heavy in the preceding chapters? Because the most important thing about art is to work. Nothing else matters except sitting down every day and trying. Why is this so important? Because when we sit down every day, when we sit down because when we sit down day after day and keep grinding, something mysterious starts to happen. A process is set in motion by which, inevitably and infallibly, heaven comes to our aid. Unseen forces enlist in our cause. Serendipity reinforces our purpose. This is the other secret that real artists know and wannabe writers don't. When we sit down each day to do our work, power concentrates around us. The muse takes note of our dedication. She approves. We have earned favor in her sight. When we sit down and work, we become like a magnetized rod that attracts iron fillings. Ideas come, insights accrete. Just as resistance has its seat in hell, so creation has its home in heaven. It's not just a witness, but an eager and active ally. I like that because I said that if I was going to start a religion, which we kind of had with our daily reading here, we wouldn't be talking about sin. We would be talking about resistance. Resistance is the force that keeps you from being everything that you can be, especially creative. Just as resistance has its seat in hell, so creation has its home in heaven. We need like a poster of that or something. And it's not just a witness, but an eager and active ally. What I call professionalism, someone else might call the artist's code or the warrior's way. It's an attitude of egolessness and service. The knights of the Round Table were chaste and self-effacing, yet they dueled dragons. We're facing dragons too, fire-breathing griffins of the soul, whom we must outfit and outwit to reach the treasure of our self in potential and release the maiden who is God's plan and destiny for ourselves and the answer to why we were put on this planet. Oh, I like that too. The answer to why we were put on this planet. That's what I've been saying about the stories and these worlds I've been trying to develop. That's why if I, there are other things I could do and there are other things that I have done in life, but if I don't get these things done, then I'm going to be very unhappy with myself when I die. And what does it take to get these things done? It takes work. So it takes work to do. So we've got to do that. And then who knows? But it's time to get them done. And I feel like there are a lot of forces. There's some things that could disrupt it, but I feel like a lot of forces are manifesting around to actually get things done this time. And that starts with going back to the beginning. Going back to the beginning has been a theme that both Brianna and I have been talking about for a while. It seems like she and I are both doing that. And I went back to the beginning with the Christmas story, The Trial of St. Gabriel, because that was the very first story that I had in my head when I first had the idea of Warrior Angels. Wrote the first draft of it. I mean, the initial, it came out in the school literary magazine. So it was a finished story, but I had to basically rewrite it because I wanted to get it out beyond that. And so back to the beginning and then stepping all the way up through my projects again. There's method to the madness. That's why we'll talk about planning out things on a later day. So there we go. What are people saying in the comments? Lynn says, I was impressed enough that I bought 3 of his books on writing. They should arrive today. Very different approach from other books on writing that I've seen. Yes. I know you're not asking me, but Your Screenplay Sucks is on my shelf right over there. I might need to read it after the first draft of the screenplay goes on because it's I think a lot of it's about fixing things. So that might be the time. Adron is not the philosophical side of this. Talking about that, I say while I bring this up. There's also there's a particular style when I was looking at books on writing that and whatever I picked up in the beginning, I never found very useful. As in actually how to write. The books on story structure and structuring your story, that has been a lot more useful to me. I love Pressfield here for the inspiration and the attitude. You said it's a philosophy. It is the philosophy. It's also the attitude. But it doesn't tell you what to sit down and write. And that's what Stomping Kittens does. Let's see. Let me bring up. So this right here is, what are we looking at right here? Here we go. So now we are continuing our series at this. Steal this story. So what is this? This is how to write great fiction with one stolen sentence by Adron J. Smitley. So this one's different. He said that, like, from the story structure perspective, Stomping Kittens was his most advanced book on the subject. But this one is also about log lines, and I haven't even gotten started writing log lines yet. Brianna has. I know it's something I got to do, so I haven't gotten into it yet. But I thought, hey, now might be a great time while we're on this series with Adron's books anyway. So this is Steal the Story, how to great. So we'll just see what it is. How to write great fiction with one stolen sentence. This is from, this is pretty new, 2002, actually. Okay, so we said Kinslayer is part of his fiction, which he said Kinslayer is about Seth. Wait, who are the guys who the people who killed the brothers who killed each other? And I can't remember. But Seth looking for Cain and Abel, which is interesting. We come up with the same people who were interested in a whole bunch of things like Hero Quest, which Adron was, and then also the Kinslayer, like biblical storytelling, and then the Soothsayer series is his fantasy series, and then here is all of his nonfiction material over here. Steal This Story's raving critic reviews. I believe Sable Phoenix told me to be sure that I read these. Okay. Stop following me and leave me alone. I have Mace, persistent jogger. I don't care about your stupid book. It's 2 a.m. and I have to work tomorrow. Former friend. Sir, you're holding up the line, so can you please just place your order? Taco Bell cashier. Why are you asking me? I just deliver the mail. Confused mailman. Quit calling me. I already told you I'm not a book critic. Random number. I'll tell you everything I know. I'll tell everyone I know your book is the greatest. I swear. Just put the knife down and let me go. Enthusiastic neighbor. Your court date is in 2 weeks, Mr. Smitley. Until then, I suggest you mind the restraining order. What? No, the book stays in evidence. Officer DeWitt. Okay. Let's see. Yeah, log lines are not easy to write effectively. They are the definition of, if I had more time, I would have written a shorter letter, right? Exactly, yes. Transported to a surreal landscape, a young girl kills the first person she meets and then teams up with 3 strangers to kill her to kill again. I know what that is. Hey, Brent. Good morning, Brent. Good morning. Great to see you. Bad writers plagiarize, good writers steal. And it's all a matter of creative perspective. But where should you begin with your petty theft? The log line. And why the log line? Because if you know your log line, then your story practically writes itself. That comes up a lot. Stories writing themselves, which is what we need. Especially in NaNoWriMo. When you need 50,000 words, we need the story just write ourselves. There's no time to be thinking about it. That's part of why I fail NaNoWriMo. I've done it. This will be the 3rd time, I believe. Succeeded once, but didn't really write usable words. Was just pounding out stuff about stuff about the world and stuff, but not really anything usable. And then I just ran out of forethought about the story the next time, and it petered out. So this time, I think I got enough stuff between the 2 screenplays that I'll be able to succeed. But we need that. The Wizard of Oz. Exactly. That's the Wizard of Oz, right? Yeah, when I said that, I was like, that's the Wizard of Oz, right? Right. Plot and structure. Well, that's what he's so big on. The Stomping Kittens book is going to be perfect for that then. Stomping Kittens can be perfect for that. The structure. That's wonderful. So let's not get ahead of ourselves just yet. We need to learn how a log line is made and why it's so damn useful. Because a great theme helps you discover your premise and the premise your log line. Theme is the shortest description of your story, an encapsulation of its overall essence, tone, or mood, or better yet, the one-word motivation driving the protagonist through it. The Godfather, power, Alien, fear, Ghostbusters, teamwork, Star Wars, hope. Premise is a concise declarative statement of your story's core concept, but not the story itself. And there exist several methods of discovering your story's premise. 1. Chain reaction, inciting incident leads to climax. 2. Opposing forces, force 1 plus action verb conquers, destroys, etc., plus force 2. Cliffhanger, what if, plus story's central conflict. Situation, core subject plus conclusive verb. Premise is a concise declarative statement of your story's core concept, but not the story itself, and there exist several different methods for discovering your story's premise. Okay, so a great theme helps you discover your premise, and your premise, and then your log line. Well, maybe I do need to work on this before I start the rest of the outline anyway. Hey, TSL Frontman, good morning. Good morning. We got a great crew here. A great crew here on Halloween. This is fantastic. So, The Godfather, love of family leads to a life of crime. Alien, courage conquers fear. So first of all, he said theme. The theme is the shortest description of your story. So I see how he's building this out. An encapsulation of the overall essence, tone, or mood, and is a one-word motivation driving the protagonist throughout it. Okay. And then we make a short declarative statement of your story's core concept, but not the story itself, for the premise. Ghostbusters. What if a group of parapsychologists open a ghost hunting business? Star Wars, rebellion emboldens. A log line is a one-sentence summation of your story's central conflict, the exciting, though quick, elevator pitch you present to a potentially interested party without revealing the ending, and there exists an inordinate amount of methods for stating your story's logline, the most basic of which is some combination of protagonist plus goal plus obstacle, though others also contain mention of setting plus inciting incident plus antagonist plus death stakes. So is a one-sentence summation without revealing logline. The most basic of which is protagonist plus goal plus obstacle. The simplest logline formula to present your core story. Oh, yes. Please do remember to like and subscribe. If you're here, please hit the like button. It helps because it helps get this story. We get this story. I got story on the brain. Helps get this live stream out to more people, because there are a lot of people subscribed to the channel and they might really want to be here, but they don't know the stream is going on because YouTube isn't giving it to them in their algorithm. I was hearing from people in the comments who were saying that, who thought that I was gone. I'm not gone. I'm here every morning. If you hit the like button, then it pushes it out to more people. And that's exactly how we found Adron. Because the algorithm pushed it out to actually his nephew, and the nephew saw this stream, and then we connected with him and got these books. So liking helps expand our reach and helps us grow. So yes, exactly. We know about Adron because of discoverability. So liking does help the stream for that reason. It's not just, I never really talked about it in the beginning because this is like an ego thing. How many likes can the stream get or something like that? But actually, algorithmically, if we want to have reach, we want to connect with more people, we need to like. Feed the algorithm, right. That's the glory of NaNoWriMo and Pressfield's philosophy. Just write the words. Worry about if they're good enough later. But when you're editing and revising, the first step is just writing. The first step is just writing. But I guess my point was, if you're writing the wrong thing, then it doesn't help. If you're actually writing words that are to something that actually should not have been written, 50,000 words of NaNoWriMo doesn't help. So if you have an outline of what you're actually trying to write and actually you want to have done by the time you write these words, that gives you direction, and you know that by the end of it, it's going to be something useful. Okay, so the simplest logline formula to present your core story is insert protagonist must insert story central conflict, or else insert death stakes, though a plethora of other formulas exist. But since no single logline formula is the most correct, the inclusion or exclusion, and the order of their elements depends on your particular story and how you wish to present it through an intriguing log line of minimal or maximum detail. Hint, simple is best. Godfather, the aging patriarch of an organized crime dynasty in post-war New York City, transfers control of his clandestine empire to his reluctant youngest son. Alien, a space crew aboard a cargo ship investigates a distress signal, allowing a deadly alien life form to stow aboard their ship, intent on killing them off one by one. John said, I thought Alien was more like no one listens to the smart woman and they all die except the smart woman and her cat. Hey, John. Good morning. Good morning, John. Ghostbusters. 3 parapsychologists forced out of their university funding set up shop in a unique ghost removal service in New York City, attracting frightened yet skeptical customers. Star Wars. In a galaxy far away, far, far away, a plucky farm boy must save the leader of the Rebel Alliance from the evil empire who kidnapped her. Tip. Basically, to best consider your log line, just imagine someone asking you to tell them your story in only 1 sentence and with a 10-second time limit. So now all that's out of the way, where do you go from here? First and foremost, know your genre. The predominant genre of a story is determined by the main focus of its element, and every genre has essential elements, specific requirements that create conflict and enable solutions, which set the reader up expectations as well as obligatory scenes, specific moments set up by the essential elements that pay off those reader expectations. And without those working in tandem, the reader will become confused, unsettled, disappointed, or bored, and quit reading. So pick a genre and make it the stabilizing foundation upon which everything else in your story is built. But what is genre? Genre is a label that tells the reader what to expect, and there are 5 primary expectations of the reader: how long the story will last, how far they'll need to suspend their disbelief, the style or particular experience of the story, how the story will be structured, what the general content of the story will be. So genre is a label that tells the reader what to expect. And when they're trying to figure out what to expect, these are 5 things that they need to know how to expect. That's nice. So what are these magical mystery genres? 15 basic genre categories exist, and they are action, adventure, comedy, crime, drama, fantasy, historical, horror, mystery, romance, science fiction, sports, superhero, thriller, and Western. You may be wondering why this genre list is so limited considering the overabundance of movies and novels that exist. Well, that's because the 15 base genres possess an exorbitant amount of subgenres, such as alternative history, detective, disaster, erotica, fairy tale, musical, paranormal, survival, suspense, war, etc. Subgenres represent a unique stylistic take on one or more combinations of the basic 15 genres. I don't know if I've ever heard the basic 15 genres before. They can be action stories where the core value at stake is life versus death, or romance stories where the core values at stake is love versus hate, or crime stories where the core value at stake is justice versus injustice, or any combination thereof, and so on. Let's see. There are moments where I can see Lucas Plunky. James says, oh, yes, I'm a newly born planner, so I believe in the power of proper outline, but pantsing is also a valid way to write a book. Even still, if you're pants, I recommend familiarity with these points. Well, and he talks about that too. Adron does. Like, he provides recommendations for both how to use his book, whether you're a pantser or a plotter. Okay, this means the subgenres include the essential elements and obligatory scenes from the base genres they are built on, but that they also include elements or take place in a particular setting, either real or imagined with particular circumstances as their main focus or primary audience. A perfect example is the steampunk subgenre, which combines the elements of science fiction and fantasy, is set in the historical Victorian era, features steam-powered machinery rather than advanced technology, and often involves action or adventure and romance. The survival subgenre is typically an adventure, often paired with action and disaster or drama and dystopian, but with less emphasis placed on the journey itself and how the protagonist achieves their desired circumstances. be it accidental or on purpose, and more emphasis is placed on struggling to survive in the harsh environment, be it man-made or nature, or foreign society while awaiting rescue or attempting escape, and typically takes place in an unfamiliar setting such as a deserted island, in prison, the fantasy or an alien planet, or the historical period, be it accurate or alternative, imposed by the science fiction of time travel. As well, many of the base genres are subgenres in disguise, but have solidified themselves as standouts because of their popularity. The perfect example is the superhero genre, which typically combines the essential elements and obligatory scenes from action, fantasy, romance, and crime, and usually in the setting of our modern times. Another example is the thriller genre, because their stories blend elements of three genres as powerful individual protagonists from the action genre faces the embodiment of evil from the horror genre in a story about unmasking the antagonist who has committed a crime against society. Wear pants while writing and live streaming and on Zoom calls. Once I watched a Morgan Freeman in which he said there were only 9 or 11 plots, but never developed the statement. Until today, I don't know what they are. I don't get this reference. Okay. Another example is the Western genre, which often combines romance or crime, the individual's relationship to society through drama, and the action of an old-time hero's reluctant moral dilemma, as all while set up in the historical period from the 1850s to the end of the 19th century in the American West. The adventure genre is when the protagonist embarks on an epic journey or quest, either personally or geographically, and faces many dangerous obstacles in their way, while typically combining the action and romance genres as its main and subplots, respectively. So, too, the fantasy genre, which deals with magical elements, usually set in a fictional universe and sometimes inspired by mythology and folklore, whereas the science fiction genre deals with the impact of real or imagined science and its influential impact upon society or individuals. The mystery genre typically focuses on a puzzling crime, situation, or circumstance needing to be solved, and often involves essential elements and obligatory scenes from detective and/or suspense. The comedy genre utilizes exaggeration of language, action, or characters involved in humorous, relatable situations while providing a funny commentary on the unique perspective of life. Such as my show, The Cultists. That's exactly what it does. Hey, look, we have 15 people watching. Maybe the like button in the algorithm is helping us out here. This is a really good genre breakdown. Once again, he's doing a great job. The drama genre most often portrays real-life scenarios or extreme situations with emotionally driven characters dealing with social ills such as poverty, racial prejudice, sexual inequality, classism, or corruption, or many individual plights such as abuse, whether physical, mental, or substance, infidelity, terminal disease, or strained family issues. I could go on forever considering there exists over 100 genres and subgenres, but you get the point. And that point is that all subgenres simply offer a unique version upon which one or more combination of the 15 base genres. So the 15 base genres. Act 1, action. Let's just keep reading. Okay, so 1, action. A story with high stakes and lots of action with an emphasis on the physical, including violence, fighting, shootouts, car chases, etc., and is most often an amalgam of other genres. 2, adventure, a journey or quest that typically takes place in an exotic location full of danger and experience through harrowing or wondrous exploration. 3, comedy, a story of misfortunes and triumphs told in a humorous, often lighthearted way. 4, crime, focused on the justice versus injustice spectrum of morality, shown either through the perpetrator's perspective or the one attempting to prevent, catch, or expose the perpetrator. 15, drama, serious stories focusing on the conflicting emotions of realistic characters and the relatable struggles that they endure in life. 6, fantasy, involves situations, places, or events that simply don't comply with natural law or settings and often involve some form of magic and/or phantasmal beings. 7, historical, based on real events of the past, the rise or fall of civilization, or a particular historical figure, the struggles of war, or sometimes just the time period is used as the setting and all events are fictitious. Sometimes just the setting is used and all events are fictitious. Horror. The objective is to scare, frighten, or disgust, and often features a monster, an evil entity, or a terrible, frightening situation needing survived or escaped. 9. Mystery. Focuses on enigma or riddle needing solved in the individual struggle while attempting to solve it. 10. Romance. Focuses on the romantic involvement of the main character and the development of their relationship. 11. Science fiction based on either real or imagined science about the future or otherworldly beings, or advanced technology and its impact upon individual society. 12. Sports, focused on an individual or group struggle to win a contest of skill and often involves an athletic rivalry. Was anybody a big Mighty Ducks fan? I didn't watch, there were a few, I didn't play a lot of sports and I didn't watch a whole lot of sports movies, but there were a few that were standouts, especially as kids. Everybody loved the Mighty Ducks, especially, Mighty Ducks 2. That's one that we could talk about. I don't think I had that one on the list, but sequels that are just as good or better than the original movies. Mighty Ducks came out swinging, and then Mighty Ducks 2 also came out swinging. So I remain a big fan of Mighty Ducks and Mighty Ducks 2. There was also the movie, it was a Rick Moranis movie, that it was called Little Giants. It was a football movie, Little Giants. That one we seem to watch quite a bit. Watch that one quite a bit. So Mighty Ducks, Little Giants, and then remember Varsity Blues? No, that one's a young adult one, not a children's one, but Varsity Blues as well. Hey, good morning, Dungeon Master, member for 2 months. Happy Halloween. Happy Halloween. Thank you so much for being a member of the channel, Dungeon Master. Sable, I liked both Mighty Ducks movie. Yes, Mighty Ducks. Oh, Rudy. Yeah, Rudy. I don't know the Sandlot Gang. I know of the title, but I've never seen that one. I liked, John says, I like the Mighty Ducks not as much as Sandlot or the Little Giants. Oh, Little Giants. John knows Little Giants. Oh, NBA. Oh, the Jam. What about their NBA Jam, but Space Jam? Now, I guess that's another sports movie. Space Jam with Michael Jordan. Yes, that was a good one. Let's see. There was also one with a dog in it. There was about a dog playing basketball. There was a whole series of stuff. Brianna and I once talked about sports movie, and then she was talking about like a sub genre. She was like, that's an animal sports movie. That's its own thing too. Superhero focuses on supernatural beings, whether born or made, and their impact on the individual, of society, or of lesser mortals. 14. Thriller invokes excitement and suspense, often involved in innocent people dealing with a deranged adversary. 15. Western, set during the period of the 1850s to the end of the 19th century in the American West. It often focuses on the individual's relationship to a changing or struggling society, an old-time hero's reluctant moral dilemma, or rival gunslingers vying for the same prize. Note, every story, regardless of the genre or plot, features a protagonist who begins some adventure or quest, overcomes obstacles, and is transformed either through positive or negative change. This is generically referred to as the hero's journey, a broad story template popularized by Joseph Campbell in the book The Hero with a Thousand Faces. And every genre has a... So Adron is also big on there's just one story that can be told from two different sides. He talks about that in Stomping Kittens. And every genre has essential elements and obligatory scenes required to satisfy the reader's expectations. But because most genres are combinations of one or more other genres' aspects, it's much simpler to present the hero's journey universal plot template that exists as 3 versions through which to tell your story. In the classic hero's journey, the hero sets forth on adventure, then eventually returns to his tribe, but their journey is not cyclical, as there is no sense that the journey will continue after the hero's. But the journey is not cyclical, as there's no sense that the journey will continue after the hero's return, since they've accomplished all they needed to and have helped out the tribe. So Hero's Journey Act 1. Okay, we've talked about this a lot. So ordinary world, call to adventure, refusal of the call. I was just re-editing to go out on the Table Talk some clips from Brianna and my discussion on romancing the stone and the hero journey. And I found a section where we talked quite a bit about the refusal of the call and its importance. So that's been clipped out. It'll go out on the Table Talk channel. Meeting with the mentor, crossing the first threshold. Act 2, tests, acts, and enemies, approach to the innermost cave, supreme ordeal, and reward. Oh, look, we've got a feminine journey. Uh-oh. We're going to have to see how that goes with the heroine's labyrinth, which Doug talks about. Hero's journey, Act 3. The road back. Resurrection, return with the elixir. In the feminine journey, all right, let's see what this says. In the feminine journey, the heroine gathers the courage to face death, even if only symbolic, and endures the transformation toward being reborn as a complete being in charge of her own life. In the feminine journey, the heroine gathers the courage to face death, even if only symbolic, and endures the transformation toward being reborn as a complete being in charge of her own life. We'll have to talk to Doug about that. Maybe we have to get Adron and Doug together to discuss this. She questions authority, then gains the courage to stand up for herself, and finally embodies the willingness to go it alone and face her symbolic death. The feminine journey is cyclical in that there is a sense the journey may continue through another, because she has gone through an inner process of change that can only be experienced directly, not shared. Interesting. What do we think about this? Airbud, that was it. Airbud. Yep. Space Jam. So that's Space Jam. Yes. I don't know that I ever saw Airbud. I just remember we may have seen it. Flight of the Navigator. I have not seen that one. That film had groundbreaking special effects for its time. Underrated movie, even though it's not as great as nostalgia colors it. ChatGPT gave me a list of movie plots. The hero's journey, overcoming the monster, rags to riches, the quest, voyage and return, comedy, tragedy, rebirth, the mystery. We'll have to see how that goes. It's an expansion of of Christopher Booker's 7 basic plots. That would be a funny table talk. Oh, Doug told me he's been watching the series on the grind because you mentioned that. Yeah, so we'll see. And I know that Adron was asking when the hero's journey was going to come. No, when the heroine's labyrinth was going to come out in the chat yesterday. So getting them together would be interesting. So, feminine journey, Act 1, illusion of the perfect world. The heroine possesses a false sense of security and is trapped in a negative world that prevents her growth. So she avoids the reality of her situation by using a coping strategy. 2, betrayal or realization. Everything important to her is taken away, and she is pushed to a fork in the road. 3, awakening. She actively prepares for her journey and wants to reclaim her power. Sounds like her, what Doug would call the inner flame, or the sacred flame, I believe is what he calls it. The sacred flame. So we also have that present as well. Interesting. Act 2 of the feminine journey, descent, also known as passing the gates of judgment. She faces one of the fears or obstacles and may want to turn back but can't. Her weapons won't work because they are useless here. 5, eye of the storm. She comes to terms with the ordeal she just faced and assumes her journey is over. Supporting characters may want her to return, but her journey is unfinished. 6, death. All is lost. A total reversal happens. She faces her own death, or a symbolic one, and learns more about herself. Feminine journey, Act 3, support. She accepts her connection to the larger whole. Hopefully someone or something supports her now, and she may not make it. 8, moment of truth. She has found her strength and goes for her goal with gusto because she's awakened and views the whole world differently. She faces her worst fear and still remains compassionate and complete. 9, full circle. She returns to the perfect world to see how far she's come and may choose the next person to go on the descent now so this person can grow as she has. In the masculine journey, the hero lives in his version of a perfect world with friends and enemies alike until he's thrust into a situation and must make a decision. Will he go inward or remain outwardly focused? Eventually, he must choose which branching path to take, awaken or rebel, because both lead to different conclusions, with one leading him to a many feminine journey. Masculine journey. Oh, this is the masculine journey. So we've got the hero's journey, classic. He gives feminine and then masculine journey, the perfect world. The world seems full of opportunities for him, though he doesn't know what he wants deep inside. 2, friends and enemies. Friends help push him toward a challenge. 3, preparing for the journey. Unsure of what he wants deep down inside, he goes for an outwardly focused goal. Act 2, small success. A small taste of success gives him the desire to reach higher. 5, invitations and preparations. He's invited to embark on the feminine journey toward awakening. If he says no, he's on the path to rebellion and gathers his weapons together because he refuses to give up his power. If he says yes, he's on the path of awakening. 6, trials. He faces obstacles. If he is rebelling, he has a false sense of superiority. If he is awakening, things seem to be falling apart for him. Either way, warnings and prophecies may surround him. Act 3, death. All is lost. If he's rebelling, he rages against death and fights against his own transformation and change. If he's awakening, he faces death and is humiliated because all his tools are useless. I know. James says, I'm constantly set on my heels for how adept Adron is at all of this. I know. He's got to get more reach and get out and get much better known. Good morning, Andrew. Good morning. Oh, good morning. Awaken or rebel. So I just said, if he is awakening, he faces himself and knows what he truly wants. He gives up something for his perceived power in order to be successful and is willing to help others. Victory or failure. Rebellion brings him down the path of failure. Awakening brings him from victory and reward, if only internal. He says, as a note, the biggest difference between the feminine and masculine journeys is that the way the male hero is usually supported in his quest to leave the tribe and seek his goal, whereas the feminine hero usually is not. But don't restrict your thinking in terms of gender, because even though traditionally the feminine journey is undertaken predominantly by females and the masculine journey is predominantly by males, either gender can undertake either journey. Also of note, there exists one or more. Also note that there exists only, so here he is, exists one and only one plot in all of fiction. A hero goes on a journey or a stranger comes to town. The difference between them is simply a shift in the protagonist's point of view. So there we go. He said this before. So I guess that's our ultimate lumper right there. There exists only one plot in all of fiction. The hero goes on a journey or a stranger comes to town. The difference between them is simply a shift in the protagonist's point of view. For example, the Lord of the Rings trilogy is a hero goes on a journey because protagonist Frodo must leave home to take the One Ring to Mordor and destroy it while the forces of antagonist Dark Lord Sauron try to stop him. Whereas the movie Jaws is a stranger comes to town because the protagonist Sheriff Brody must deal with the antagonist shark that comes to town and kills the local swimmers. If you switch the protagonist and point of view from Frodo to Sauron, then the Lord of the Rings trilogy becomes a stranger comes to town. If you switch the protagonist and point of view from the Sheriff Brody to the shark, then Jaws becomes a hero goes on a journey. So the journey is mentioned in these three examples of the hero's journey universal plot template doesn't necessarily mean the protagonist must always embark on a physical quest by leaving home, only that they leave the familiar world of Act 1 behind for the unfamiliar world ahead of the new circumstances they've never dealt with before. That is Act 2 and beyond, because of the inciting incident and their decision to do something about resolving it. Let's say you have an agoraphobic protagonist who discovers a mysterious box while cleaning the attic and incidentally releases an evil spirit intent on killing her. And she remains inside the house the entire story while dealing with the evil entity. This is still a journey because she has shifted from familiar circumstances to the unfamiliar circumstances that is the story's central conflict needing to be resolved. Point of view is everything. And a university level instructor position. Yes. Yes. Oh, yes, right here. He needs a broader audience and a university level instructor position. Or like to be in charge of storytelling for some TV show or studio. Let's see. Dungeon Master says, my favorite hero goes on a journey is What Dreams May Come, starring Robin Williams. I have not seen that one. I have not seen that. A common plot point is a stranger goes on a journey and a hero comes to town. Let's see. Okay, now let's say the same protagonist is home alone when a serial killer breaks in and stalks her throughout the house for the entire story. This in turn changes to a stranger comes to town. Also note that a singular plot can be applied to many genres. For instance, the classic quest plot most common in adventure stories, an object to be obtained and limited time to obtain it, can be applied to romance, the object being the love interest and the limited time being the affections of a rival lover or a set date of an impending marriage. Or mystery, the object being a key piece of the puzzle needing to be solved and the limited time being a cunning adversary attempting to prevent the protagonist from solving it. Or a Western, the object being the skill and inexperienced protagonist needs to be acquired because of the limited time of the challenge posed by their expert gunfighter adversary to a high noon duel to win the kidnapped love interest freedom, and so on. So too, the contest of skill plot rife in the sports genre can be applied with a little creative tinkering to other genres with performances replacing sports, such as fantasy, where the athletic competition is replaced by a magic contest between wizards, or science fiction, where the athletic competition is replaced by competing discoveries of rival scientists, or drama, where the athletic competition is replaced by a contest of mental faculties, such as a political debate, or high-stakes games of chess, or talent prowess instead of a battle of the bands, or a dance competition, and so on. Yes, a journey frequently doesn't require traveling distance, just an unfamiliar landscape. Home can be an unfamiliar landscape if something changes it, right? Oh, so in What Dreams May Come, he literally travels from heaven to hell with his wife? Oh, interesting. That's one of my favorite themes. Let's go on a little bit further. I've got a lot to do today because Tuesday is my big day with the table talk tonight, but then also my conversation with Brianna this afternoon. It's not like I don't have other things that I've got to be doing as well. But let's go on just a little bit longer here. And understanding that the 15 basic genres mainly help you present external conflict, but a great protagonist and thus a great story also requires internal conflict derived from one of three categories as their central internal change of character growth because of the influence of events in your story and its impact upon them. 1, worldview, a change in perception of life experience. A, education, a shift from point of view from meaningless to meaning. So what are these? These are influential events of your story and its impact upon them. This is internal conflict derived from one of three categories as their central internal change. So, okay, 1 is a change of worldview. Okay, I see. A change in perception of life experience. So 2 will be morality, a change in the character's inner moral compass. And 3, status, will be a change in social position. So we have a change in worldview that could come from education, maturation, revelation, or disillusionment. Morality could change from punitive, good guy goes bad and is punished, redemption, bad guy reforms, testing, willpower versus temptation. 3, status. Change in social position, pathetic, weak protagonist tries to rise and fails. Sentimental, weak succeeds against all odds. Tragic, striver makes mistake that dooms him to failure. Or admiration, principled person rises without compromise. PH says, Heath, I just thought here, when it comes to writing for children, the structure and logic may differ because there are different cognitive processes to indulge. It would be nice to look at it. That's interesting. We should probably... Well, Lou does middle grade. We talked to Lou. He writes middle grade fiction, or has written middle grade fiction. His the Thrones and Bone series are middle grade. But I wonder if we could find somebody specifically to talk about Yeah, Lou could come back and talk specifically about middle grade or younger fiction. Like there's young adult too, and young adult's really what sells, or at least that's what used to sell. Adult fiction really doesn't sell, but young adult seemed to be the big ticket for a long time. But if you go younger, how do you adjust the story? I don't know if you adjust the structure or not. I really don't. I want to write some things for some younger audiences too. I don't know if you adjust the structure, but you do adjust how it's told. What Dreams May Come is a tragic story about depression and suicide. It's a sort of reflection on William's own struggles. I find it very sad, but very human and eminently watchable. Second, know your theme. And what is theme? Theme, so that was about knowing your genre. And then, so second, know your theme. And what is theme? Theme is a simple statement, or better yet, a single, all-powerful, all-encompassing word that describes the essence of your story's central conflict as a whole. How do you discover your theme? Easy. Theme is a one-word emotion motivating your protagonist. Okay, well, there you go. So, theme is the one-word emotion motivating your protagonist. Think love, or greed, or any of the plethora of one-word desires possibly driving your protagonist throughout the events of your story. Once again, he said on a very simple way to determine this. What is the theme of your story? The theme is the one-word emotion motivating your protagonist. Perfect. This is not the only way to discover and state your theme, mind, but it is the most simple. As well, you can determine your theme by examining the reoccurring events of your story as its focus of moral argument, such as with the Avengers or Ghostbusters, both movies showing via conflicting examples throughout their stories that only by working together do they stand a chance at achieving victory, whereas they work apart, they will earn only failure, thus giving us the theme of teamwork. So I also like that theme as a moral argument. Man, I also go back to Maxwell Alexander Drake on this. He talks about theme, something versus something. So that's what that is. This is motivating, but they're resisted by the other force, which would be an opposite of that emotion that they're experiencing. So you're dealing with this back and forth. The scenes should be in conflict. Sometimes one is up, sometimes the other is up, bouncing back and forth as we go across this story. Let's see. In publishing, 15 and under is considered children's. There's a huge difference in cognitive ability among the audience. The best stories for children are still engaging for adults as well. Look at The Hobbit, the book, not the movies, or The Incredibles, or How to Train Your Dragon. I watched How to Train Your Dragon on Sunday because I was trying to watch that before I started my outlining. I love How to Train Your Dragon. We were talking about that, someplace. It might have been in NaNoWriMo. I don't remember where it was. But it's so perfectly structured. That is such a perfectly structured movie. Really good. Well, he is providing like the most straightforward way to do it. So that is if you're struggling finding out what the theme is, that's the simplest way to do it right there. It's not, he says this is the most simple, but then I often think about theme as this conflict right here. I like that Maxwell Alexander Drake says this versus this. These are things that we all experience in humanity and we are fighting with. Or you can just epitomize the central conflict of your story, such as abuse or addiction or revenge or what have you. Yet another easy way to reference the internal conflict chart already provided and pick one for your protagonist and then describe their particular version of it according to your particular story. Do this by comparing your protagonist at the beginning of your story to them at the end of the story. For instance, does your protagonist's morality shift from corrupt to righteous? The theme is redemption, which makes their premise corruption leads to righteousness. So, for example, does your protagonist's morality shift from corrupt to righteous? Then their theme is redemption, which makes their premise corruption leads to righteousness. Now, all that's left for your story is to prove it, because every story is about change. So that's what your story is trying to do. This versus that. That's what Drake is talking about as well. And then you're going to wrestle with this idea. You may not even know which one comes out on top, but you're going to be wrestling with this idea scene by scene, going back and forth until it's resolved. And the focus of that change is centered on the protagonist, because every protagonist begins their story as a flawed protagonist, and they end up either changing for the better, abandoning their dominant character flaw for its opposite virtue, or for worse, rejecting the virtue for its flaw magnified. The triumphant protagonist eventually chooses virtue over flaw. The tragic protagonist eventually chooses flaw over virtue. And the moral point of your story is to show how they arrive at this decision, whether they are either rewarded, virtue over flaw, or punished, flaw over virtue, by the story's climax, where they either succeed, triumph, because they chose virtue over flaw, or fail, tragedy, because they chose flaw over virtue. Yeah, it was. Yeah, oh yeah. I think it was in the chat. Yes, it was one. That's where it was. Yeah, I had the How to Train Dragon discussion. PH Arbest says, my son is 3 and we create stories together. I also spent 10 years plus teaching children about that age. There's a fluctuation on focus and different elements change priority and their satisfaction. The story, tone, movement, voice, expression, small interruptions to explain something, all of this interconnect to create that experience. I wonder how to simulate that in writing. I don't know. That's a fantastic question. The triumphant protagonist eventually chooses virtue over flaw. The tragic protagonist eventually chooses flaw over virtue. And the moral point of your story is to show how they arrive at this decision. Then they are either rewarded, virtue over flaw, or punished, flaw over virtue. By the story's climax, when they either succeed, triumph, because they choose virtue over flaw, or fail, because they choose flaw over virtue. Tip: most, though not all by any means, stories are about triumphant protagonists, which automatically gives you a tragic antagonist. And if you flip these factors, a tragic protagonist automatically gives you a triumphant antagonist. Remember, the best theme is the simple theme. So my advice is to keep it so by choosing 1 or 2 powerful words that encompass all, such as love or grieving or loss, which gives you the simple, or grieving lost, which gives you the simplest answer when someone asks you what your story is about. If they are still interested, then you can always go into more detail. Imagine instead of writing a novel, you are the head of a prom committee and someone asks you the theme of this year's dance. You don't spend the next 20 minutes explaining the glitz and glam of the Las Vegas Strip and how to play poker and wear sequin dresses. You just say casino night. Some common examples of themes are, but are not limited to, abuse, physical, emotional, or psychological; addiction, the struggle and impact of a habit's self-indulgence; ambition, the chance to fulfill a passion or greed; betrayal, infidelity, lies, broken trust, something stolen, or blackmail; courage, deciding to fight for yourself or others despite one's fears; captivity, requiring ransom, rescue, or escape; death, natural, accidental, or on purpose; disaster, requiring physical survival in an unfamiliar environment or circumstances. Lynn says, I think children's stories mostly reinforce society's mores and assumptions, whereas adult fiction is free to challenge them. What do people think about that? I'll have to think about that. Children's stories mostly reinforce society's mores and assumptions, whereas adult fiction is more free to challenge them. Well, because if you don't know, if you don't know the mores of society, then it's difficult to challenge them. So I guess in that sense, that would be more direct. First of all, you got to learn about society. Then you can challenge the way society works. So maybe that's a good way to think about it. I'll have to think more about that, Lynn. Discovery of a puzzle or riddle needing solved, or of a new truth that supplants the old. Glory, seeking high renown or honor run through notable achievements. Grieving loss, moving on, or succumbing to depression. Guilt, rejecting culpability or seeking absolution. Justice, retribution with due process or vindication of a false crime. Love, sexual, romantic, or platonic friendship. Persecution, religious, racial, gender, or political are the most common. Phobia, confronting or evading your worst nightmare. Rivalry, a tournament, challenge, or contest needing won. Revenge, retaliation through vengeance. Revolt, rebellion against authority or revolution against tyranny. Temptation, sexual addiction, or just plain curiosity, like a haunted house. Okay, so third, know your premise. I think Tolkien did something in, is that supposed to be Rivendell, that I incorporate into my own storytelling? He makes commentaries about how things would develop, but are never told in the main story. That's probably one reason The Princess Bride did so well. It establishes the sense of tone of voice as well as the interruptions and such. Oh, yeah. Well, there is that's that particular style of storytelling where you actually have the story being told. The Princess Bride does do that. You got a frame around it. Okay, so third, know your premise. And what is premise? Premise is the reason why your story exists and why you are telling it. If the log line is the heart of your story, then the premise is the soul around which the log line heart beats. And once you discover your story's premise, you craft it into a concise statement so that your story proves true. Such as, concise statement that your story proves to be true. Such as, one day Mama Pig decided her 3 little piggies are old enough to make it on their own, so she sends them away with a little money to build their own houses while warning them to be careful of and prepare for the big bad wolf who hunts the woods for a tasty little piggy to eat. To save money for things more frivolous than strong building materials, Piggy 1 builds his house out of straw, and like-minded Piggy 2 builds his house out of sticks. But Piggy 3, adhering to his mother's sagacious advice, builds his house out of bricks. When the big bad wolf comes along, he huffs and puffs and blows down the first 2 houses and then devours the pigs. Though when he comes to the 3rd house, he fails. So the determined wolf climbs down a chimney, but Piggy 3 has a pot of boiling water waiting, traps the wolf inside it, and has the wolf stew for dinner. So what's the premise of the 3 little pigs? If we make Piggy 1 or Piggy 2 our protagonist, then it is foolishness begets death. But Piggy 3 is our protagonist, who smartly builds his house out of sturdy bricks and then kills the wolf and lives happily ever after. So we have wisdom begets happiness. So here we're talking about foolishness begets death, wisdom begets happiness. Because its theme is conscientiousness, as proven by because its theme is conscientiousness, as proven by protagonist Piggy 3. You can also use this thematic equation of competing story values to discover competing story values. You can also use this thematic equation of competing story values to discover premise through theme. X versus Y is equal to Z. That's okay. I didn't know that. So that's okay. I didn't know that. That was one possibility too. X equals character, Y equals conflict, Z equals conclusion. So, for example, translation 1, alcoholism versus enablement equals death. Example translation 2, alcoholism versus rehabilitation equals happiness. Another easy way of utilizing this thematic equation is to simplify it further by applying the protagonist's character essence to X and the antagonist character essence to Y while removing the Z conclusion. Example translation 3, justice versus injustice, or honesty versus corruption, or compassion versus inhumanity, and so on. And just as with theme, there are many ways to state your premise. But do you understand the process yet? Rome wasn't built in a day, and neither are stories written. Discovering your theme helps you find your premise, which helps you craft your log line that you expand into a summary and then extrapolate into a synopsis, which turns into a novel. Now I understand there exists plenty of confusion when it comes to premise in particular. So know that a premise does not teach a moral lesson, such as crime doesn't pay, or cheating is wrong, or liars never prosper, or love conquers all. That's because a good premise is a brief statement of what happens to the character as a result of the actions of the story. And your premise helps keep you focused on what you're trying to prove as your argumentative statement. So know that a premise does not teach a moral lesson. Your premise, because a good premise is a brief statement of what happens to the character as a result of the action of the story, and your premise helps keep your story focused on what's trying to prove your argumentative statement. Good morning, Jason. Good morning. PH said he would write something like, he never knew that, but the seeds he gave to Mike became a huge tree, which provided a nice shadow for his kids. Oh, I'm having. Well, I actually just noticed a moment ago that the my stream connection said that it went down briefly, so it's still down at the moment. So maybe there was maybe somebody down the road is trying to upload the Death Star plans or something. So maybe it'll recover here in just a moment. I don't think. Actually, well. We'll see if I can. I don't know why that is. We'll see if we can. Maybe I'm using heavy memory. Anyway, while writing, just ask yourself, what does this scene have to do with my premise? If your premise is alcoholism leads to suicide, you don't include a scene in your story about the happy wanderers of home construction because that has nothing to do with alcoholism leading to suicide. God, the dynamic story creation was talking about that as well, saying that if the scene does not contribute to proving your theme, then not only should you get rid of it, you must get rid of it. Because every scene needs to contribute toward the argumentation of your theme and your resolution to it. That's not an exact quote, but it was something like that. If your premise is gambling addiction leads to financial ruin, you don't include scenes about the solitude of being a widowed truck driver driving across the country because that has nothing to do with gambling addiction leading to financial ruin. Here are some examples of bad premises because they are too vague in concept. Sports is fun. Don't trust strangers. War kills people. Life sucks sometimes. Existence leads to death. Stealing is wrong. As I've said, there are many ways to state your premise. Some good examples include true love conquers racism. Extravagance leads to destruction. Tyranny leads to rebellion. Free will versus fate begets liberty. Infidelity destroys marriage. Intolerance leads to isolation. Embodiment in your statement of premise is character, conflict, or conclusion. Or character through conflict leads to a conclusion. When it comes down to it, premise is equal to proof. But don't get frustrated by rigid formulas and stop seeking their perfection because there are many ways to define the number. And so on, all of which are correct. Remember, your premise is just a slightly more detailed version of your theme in answer to the question, so what's your story about? Take John, for instance. He falls in love with Jane and pursues her, but she rejects him because she has no real interest in him. John buys her flowers. She throws them away. John writes her love letters. She returns to sender. John shows up outside her house holding a boombox over his head and declaring his love for her. She yells at him to go away or she'll call the police and then shuts the window. Rejected and depressed, John goes home and makes out with the end of a loaded shotgun. Whoa, the end. Giving us the premise of unrequited love leads to suicide, because this story proves that unrequited love leads to suicide. Now take Jim. He falls in love with June and pursues her. She welcomes his advances because she has honest interest in him. He buys her flowers. He puts them in a vase on her kitchen table. She buys him a watch for his birthday. He wears it proudly. They talk of their future together while snuggling. Eventually, Jim asks June to marry him, and she happily accepts. They get married. The end. Giving us the premise of requited love leads to a happy marriage, because this story proves that requited love leads to a happy marriage. Premise equals proof. In the context of this story is what's going on here. Oh, that's true. Remember to double check your candy, guys, and have some fun out there. TP my house. I'm running low. Times change, I guess. Let's see. In technical terms, a premise is a proposition in support of a conclusion as evidence for the truth of the conclusion and justification to believe the conclusion. In technical terms, a premise is a proposition in support of a conclusion as evidence for the truth of the conclusion and justification to believe in the conclusion. In not so technical terms, a premise is what your story's central conflict proves is true. So pick a quality that defines your protagonist, then shows it in full display throughout the struggle of your dilemma, because the protagonist embodies the premises, and the premises is proven by the climax. And because the story is struggle, you begin with your protagonist just as before their dilemma. The protagonist struggles with the dilemma. The dilemma worsens into a crisis. The crisis leads to climax. The climax concludes with either a positive or negative resolution. Thus, the premise is proven and the story is over. Or, character through conflict leads to conclusion. Once you have all that figured out, you turn it into a log line. Fourth, know your log line. Movies are visual stories. Let's see what he has to say actually here on this know the log line, since this is what this was about. And if we watched both the same movie, then we can imagine the same events because movies are far more objective than their subjective novel counterparts, which is why this book presents examples from movies instead of novels. I've separated these examples into the 15 basic genres and provided their log lines for you to steal from. But before we continue, let me provide you with another example from the most famous love story ever told, how we discover its important log line through theme and premise, and why it matters. Romeo and Juliet, 1597. Log line. A lovesick socialite must escape the age-old vendetta between two powerful families, or else he'll lose his true love forever. Well, that's great. A lovesick socialite must escape the age-old vendetta between two powerful families, or else he'll lose his true love forever. Okay, we got a summary here. The theme of Romeo and Juliet is obviously love. We're running out of time, so I'm going to skip the summary. And the most basic three-part formula of a premises is blank leads to blank. Now you just fill in these blanks by ascribing the inciting incident of Act 1 in your story and the first blank and climax of Act 3 of your story, and the second blank leads to covers the entire Act 2. Translation: inciting incident leads to climax. Why so simple? Because your premise needs to be informative yet concise to keep your story focused on the point of why you are writing it and why it exists to tell. Again, the theme is love, yes, but there exist many kinds of love. Carnal love, true love, obsessive love, unrequited love, etc. So what kind of love encapsulates Romeo and Juliet? Answer: forbidden, which makes the premise of Romeo and Juliet forbidden love leads to suicide. How did we arrive at this conclusion? During the inciting incident of Act 1, Romeo and Juliet meet cute and fall in love at first sight. But theirs is a forbidden love because their families, the Montagues and the Capulets, are engaged in a bitter feud, and as such, they can never be together despite their shared feelings given those restrictive circumstances. The leads to of their Act 2 is Romeo and Juliet dealing with their feuding families and friends, attempting to keep the two lovers apart, even as they sneak away in secret for some romantic and sexy time together, and eventually develop plans to elope. But don't be confused by the leads to terms, because Act 2 is a back and forth battle and doesn't only lead to, but also detracts from. Your story must present an argument, not a lecture. We talked about that. Your story must present an argument, not a lecture. And you must depict, that's critical, and must depict both sides of the argument in order to keep the reader guessing as to which one will eventually win out. And so many movies today do not do that. The story is trying to be a lecture, so you know what's going to happen because it's a lecture, it's not an argument. That's so important. That's so important. We got to talk more about that. Must be back and forth. Drake talks about that, the back and forth, the ups and downs, the reversals. That's what you remember. Romantic and sexy time. Yes. Oh, my text is stuck? Well, I could take this down and put it back up. Maybe that resets it. Let's see. PH says, they get married. He faces the reality and commits suicide. Conclusion is that married leads to suicide. The theme of Romeo and Juliet, premarital teenage sex, leads to death. Hey, everybody, please do hit the like button while you're here. Let's finish this out here, but please do hit the like button. We're looking at Steal This Story by Adron Smitley. Remove the argument, and all you have left is a one-sided lecture minus all the unpredictability, and that's the stuff. That stuff is boring with zero conflict. During the climax of Act 3, I'm huge on this. During the climax of Act 3, Romeo discovers Juliet sleeping, but believes her dead and so commits suicide. Juliet wakes up and discovers Romeo dead and so commits suicide. It is implied the two lovers are then reunited in the afterlife so they can now be together without the restrictions of their warring families upon their love, which is why another version of its premise is great love defies even death. Or translation, forbidden love leads to suicide. Is theirs a forbidden love? The inciting incident of Act 1 declares yes. Does it lead to suicide? The climax of Act 3 declares a double yes. The proof is in the pudding, folks, because inciting incident leads to climax, or forbidden love leads to suicide. And that gives us the wonderful logline of a lovesick socialite must escape the age-old vendetta between two powerful families, or else he'll lose his true love forever. But does forbidden love always lead to suicide? Heck no. Do not think the premise of your story must be some profound explanation about all things life, because it's not. It's right. It's about your story right here. Premise is simply a statement of what happens as a result of the story's actions, connecting the protagonist and antagonist from the inciting incident to the climax through the story's central conflict. You're talking about what is true for this story. Most important, your story's premises applies to and only, he just says it right here, and only to your particular story, because premise is not a universal truth. And that's the magic trick of premise, because its truth depends entirely upon your particular story. You see, it doesn't matter if the premise is actually true in real life or not. So long as your story proves it's true, then that's what makes it the universal truth of your story. Yours might be infidelity leads to a happier marriage. In reality, does infidelity really lead to a happier marriage? Not that I'm aware of. But if your particular story proves that it does, then that's the rock solid premise of your story. And what's great about knowing your premise is from it you get the heart of your story. That's its log line, which is just an expansion of the premise, same as the premise is just an expansion of the theme. Again, the simplest method to discovering your story's premise, and thus its important log line, is with the basic formula of blank leads to blank, or inciting incident leads to climax. This is not the only way, but it presents the surefire method to at least begin constructing your premise from which you can extrapolate to your liking into a fantastic logline. And to help you discover your story's logline through premise, you consider whether it is more plot-driven or more character-driven by deciding its central focus. For example, most, though not all, action stories are more plot-driven, same as most, though not all, love stories are more character-driven. Here's another brief example, which is Gladiator 2000. I'm going to leave it there. Let's go back to the very beginning here. Well, however I do that easily. Yeah. So we just took a look at Steal This Story. Here it is. Steal This Story by Adron J. Smitley. It might still be free. It might still be free on Amazon, the Kindle version. I'm not sure if he's taken it down or not. But take a look. Look for him over on Amazon, Steal This Story. Go over there. In fact, let me just go ahead and find it for you. I'll put the link in here. Steal This Story. If you're working on this for NaNoWriMo, trying to figure out how to write a log line, trying to get stuff ready, Steal This Story, write great fiction. Let's see. Oh, it does say this free right now. He's still got it free on Kindle Amazon right now. So I'll put this link right here. Steal This Story. If this is interesting to you and you want to finish reading the book, go download it. Go download it. Sable says, I've never heard anyone break this down so concisely. All right. This is great stuff on how theme works mechanically. I know. This is amazing. And his exposition is, as ever, way more direct and understandable. So, yeah, this is fantastic. Jason says, thank you for this discussion. Sorry I missed so much of the series. If this is interesting to you, I highly recommend going and looking at the last few days of Table Talk. And actually, we talked to the author yesterday. So yesterday we talked to the author. Start with the Stomping Kittens. Morning Grind. That was the first book we looked at of his. It's fantastic. If this helps you, definitely check those out. And his entire series right now, it still looks like it's free. He put this free up for us. He specifically made it free for everybody here on the Morning Grind and as part of the community. So if these help you, part of the Right Club book series, let me turn, stop screen sharing, share screen. He doesn't have social media or anything like that. So this is it. Steal This Story. Here's the author, part of the Right Club book series. So that's got 5 books, and he turned them all free for us. Stomping Kittens is fantastic. That's what got us all started. Punching Babies is the starter book, and then goes to Stomping Kittens. Pen the Sword. I was looking at that yesterday. We need to look at On Writing Well, so we might do that tomorrow. But to start NaNoWriMo would kind of make sense. So the Write Club. I also realized, since he doesn't have social media, if you want to follow him, he does have a author page because he's got different books and stuff. So you can follow him on his author page through Amazon. So try that out. All right. So everybody, I look forward to seeing you tonight. Let me come over here. Tonight, the Cultists. If you don't have Halloween fun, hey, hang out and have Halloween fun with me. Right? Let me take this down. Stop screen. Share screen. Please present, share screen. I wish I could have more than one window prepped. Come on over to Table Talk tonight. Or, Table Talk will be broadcasting there. Watch Party tonight for the Cultists. It's a comedy web show about modern-day Lovecraftian cultists right here, just trying to worship Cthulhu in a world full of people who understand. It's my web show, so we'll be doing commentary with me, the producer, the creator, and the co-writer. Come on in. Watch Party tonight, starting at 7 o'clock p.m. Central Time. And this, my web series has its own YouTube channel now. That was a link to the Watch Party on that channel. First 3 episodes, all about like 6 minutes each, are on that channel right now. So check it out. Have some Halloween fun with us tonight. I'll see you tonight at 7. Bye, everybody.